The investigation deemed it an accident, a massive fire that destroyed one of Toronto's most historic schools earlier this year, collapsing the ceiling and roof and displacing nearly 900 students. And this is York Memorial Collegiate Institute. More than 3 months later, most of it stripped away. We now know from the report released by the Ontario Fire Marshal that that blaze wasn't deliberately set. But could the extensive damage have been prevented?
And clearly something kind of didn't happen the way it should here.
That's one of Mayor John Tory's takeaways from the report that has raised eyebrows on what was behind the destruction of York Memorial and what was believed back then to be two separate fires. But according to the OFM, the blaze on May 6th was still dormant and sparked again early next morning, this time bigger and stronger.
I presume there was nothing they noticed at that time, and then they left the building, leaving only this security or person on fire watch.
Mayor John Tory reviewed the 46-page report, which has not been made public. The OFM says it won't be, only going to stakeholders, including the City, Toronto Fire, and the Toronto District School Board. The questions coming to light following these findings: who was keeping an eye on the fire? The OMF told us the TDSB had a fire watch in place.
How do you tell? How do the experts, including the fire marshal and the fire service and anybody else who is in the building, that a fire is out or not out? And then having determined that, because I guess it's like any kind of fire, you never can be entirely sure it's entirely out, what measures were put in place to watch over the building.
Should Toronto Fire have stayed and remained at the scene?
They attended the scene and suppressed the fire at that time.
And should they have stayed to ensure that a second fire wouldn't have begun?
No.
In this case, that wasn't done, and do you know why?
I don't, and there's nothing in the report, as I recall from reading it, that would explain that. There is a timeline that's in the report that says they did leave at a certain point in time.
And how effective was that TDSB security guard who was on fire watch? Because as we know now, the fire was never fully out.
It was sort of smoldering, if that's the right word, inside the walls, inside the floors, and so on.
And according to the mayor, the fire department wasn't called right away. It took 2 hours after the fire reignited for the security guard to contact responders.
This is the part that we're going to have to focus in on, all of us together.
We asked the mayor where the city goes from here.
Clearly, there are questions even arising out of as thick and as professional a report as this that are unanswered at this time.
Well, the mayor, quoting that report, says the damage is pegged at $90 million. Both the Toronto District School Board and Toronto Fire have not responded to the questions that we asked them yesterday and today. Both said yesterday that they do need time to review the report that was released.